Good afternoon and welcome to the Kerry Garden Show. We have moved indoors mainly because I suppose Mother Nature has gone from shining the bright light on us to turning on the sprinklers, Trish.
I'm afraid it has. As I said last week, I think when we had all the dry weather, there was no need to water the lawn.
There really wasn't. Listen, how are you? Good afternoon.
I'm very good, very good.
Good. And speaking of the lawns, that is actually what we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about stuff. We've also got some other tips and some things to follow up on. But the starting point is going to be the lawns. And like you said, there was a couple of people, including myself, who were kind of wondering, gee, during that dry spell, is the lawn going to be all right?
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Is it going to burn? But you had said to me that the top of the lawn and the grass is not really what to worry about. It's
the roots. It's the roots, and that's most important. Like, I like that to say, no matter how much of a drought you get, you'll always get the grass burnt on top. Never to worry, as long as the roots are fine.
Yeah.
And we in Ireland, and in Kerry in particular, do not get drought for weeks upon weeks upon weeks.
It was a nice dry spell when we got it.
It was lovely.
Yeah,
it was lovely.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So today what I'm going to do is talking about sowing new lawns.
Okay.
Now is an ideal time to do it. They always say kind of end of August, start of September. So the grass is up in time then before the winter comes.
Yeah.
Like really basically if you're setting a new lawn, you want the grass to be there by the second week of September, the third week of September. So it's up and it's strong and it's ready to rock like for the winter, and it's able to prepare itself and be strong enough then to take, all the weather between the frost and everything like that. So I suppose like a lot of people that are setting new lawns, they might have just the house built, the curbs are down, all of that has to be done before you put down your lawn. The curbs has to be, the driveway has to be done and all that.
Yeah.
So you're ready then to be setting your lawn. And as I've always said, even when we did the front door gardens there last week as well, it's the green grass that will make your house.
Yes.
It'll actually lift it to a different dimension, like when you put it down, you'll see it. So usually after a house has been built, what have you got is big mounds of topsoil everywhere.
Rubble,
there could be rubble and everything.
Bits and
yeah.
pieces, yeah.
So you need to get somebody in with a digger or whatever and segregate these things. Obviously you don't want the rubble going down into your lawn, so you need the nice topsoil. Now not the subsoil, because the subsoil then is just heavy clay. So what you need is the nice fresh topsoil. So the digger then needs to level all that out.
Okay.
Now, if for like a lot of people when they're building houses, such expense that the lawn and the outside is kind of the last thing that you do.
Tends to be really, because obviously the internal of the house and getting everything so people can kind of move in.
Exactly.
And then it's when you
that's
actually,
the main thing.
When everybody moves in, you're looking out the window going, oh, right,
yes,
we need to get the
lawn. So your topsoil then, your heaps of topsoil, there could be perennial weeds on it.
Okay.
And you really need to get rid of them before you start your lawn. Because say, for example, if you have docks, if you have thistles, if you have all the strong weeds,
they will find a way
keep
through.
coming up, and they'll annoy you for the rest of your life. There'll be thistles and there'll be docks and everything. You'll end up spraying the whole time. So the easiest way to do it is to get rid of all these before you start doing your lawn.
Okay.
So
the best way to go about
that. The best way to go about
you've
that.
You've leveled
then,
and flattened things out.
You've leveled and flattened it out.
Yeah.
Leave it for a week or so. See what weeds come up.
See what pops up.
See what pops up, and there won't be long popping up this time of the year because you've got the heat in the ground and you've got the moisture then as well. So if they're very strong weeds that are popping up, you need to put down Roundup.
Okay.
Now, the weeds have to be actively growing. You can't put it down where the weeds are tiny at the start. So they have to be actively growing, as there has to be leaf on the weed for it to be activated.
Okay, so if you were to actually apply that onto the actual just the soil itself,
it's no good.
Nothing popping
no,
up, it won't do any good.
What Roundup is systemic. So what that means is if it hits this leaf, it goes into the leaf, it goes into the plant and into the root, and it'll kill it in that way.
So it doesn't actually do anything to the soil.
No.
It's directly to the actual
directly
weed.
to the actual weed.
Okay.
So you need the fresh weed growth to come up. So after that then, before you put your seed, you'd want to wait about 2 weeks, depending on the weather.
Okay.
If the weather is hot and sunny, the weeds will be killed that much quicker. You see weeds dying away within a couple of days, basically.
Yeah,
right?
They start to go brown and they'll start to fade very quick.
So after that then, once all your weeds are gone, you need to rake it. Now, you can get a rake on a digger as well.
Or a rotavator.
A rotavator. Yeah. You need to till it. You need to get out the big lumps out of it, and you need to get the stones out of it as well.
Okay.
So there's a lot of work in preparing the lawn. The easiest part of the lawn is scattering the seed out
at the very end.
Day.
Yeah, everyone
there's
kind
a
of
lot
just has
of work,
things,
and to do it properly, you only get one chance at this. Now, your soil then, if it's very clay, what that means then, it's damp and it's sticky.
Clumpy.
Clumpy,
as well
exactly.
too,
And there's no air getting into it.
What's that going to cause then if no air gets in?
Exactly. If you leave that there, what's it's going to cause is moss.
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 Okay.
You're going to have loads of moss for the rest of your life.
So that's a sign of a clay soil.
Exactly. It's a clay, sticky soil. So what you need to do is remove a lot of that clay and put down fresh topsoil then.
Okay.
The other thing then as well, because it's damp and wet, you might need to look at your drainage.
And that's and I guess that would kind of come before while the digger is there.
Oh, while the digger is there, yes.
So by right, if you kind of get them to just make a couple of channels and put in some rubble.
Yeah, put in some rubble, and you need to put in pipes. It all depends how bad your drainage
is. Where your house is.
You need to look into that then as well.
Okay.
Now the other opposite effect then is that if you've got a sandy soil, or some people kind of have a rocky soil and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So what will happen there then is that there's not enough soil, so the root development, again I'm onto the roots of the grass, wouldn't have anything to clutch onto really, so you need to rectify that as well. Again, you're adding fresh topsoil, kind of dig down, get rid of the scree, get rid of a lot of the light soil, because if you've got a very light soil, what happens then, it brings on a lot of clover. Your lawn could be full of clover.
Right.
And again, you're on the same thing, trying to get rid of clover then. So
Yeah.
it's very, very important to see what your soil is like. Sometimes as well to do a pH soil testing sample on it as well, to see if it's very limey or see if it's very more acidic. Because if it's very acidic, you need to add lime.
And again, I suppose where you're getting your topsoil from, they would actually have a specific soil type.
Yes,
they'd know
exactly.
the soil type.
Oh,
so
you would, yeah.
You'd have that information as well too.
Oh, you would, yeah.
Underneath, there might be other things that people might need to be aware of.
Exactly. And as I say, if it is very acidic, you will have to add lime, because acidic brings on moss then as well. Right, so we've all the soil prepared at that stage, and it's all levelled off. And it's very important to get rid of stones.
Okay.
Because if you don't get rid of the stones, your mower will be in pieces after a couple of runs.
Right, well, I'm going to reach here now for something, and it's something that I suppose every garden would have, and that is a rake.
A rake,
now,
yes.
This is literally, I'd say that's a...
Now, that's your metal rake
that's
then.
That's a metal rake. It's about
right?
a foot and a half.
Yeah.
And these would be all over the garden. So how good would this be for that sort of
now,
job?
the thing is, that one is not too bad. There is another rake which I'll show in a second. That one is for the kind of the fine tilting at the end. It'll get rid of the smaller stones.
Okay.
If you've got big stones, it won't go into the grooves in there. It'll just get stuck. Okay. So the one there behind you now.
I'm going to reach back behind me here now. So, and this one is a very big one. So this is it's got about 3 foot of a wingspan.
Exactly.
It's plastic as well too, and it's actually quite light, Trish.
It is.
And
because
is that ideal?
Yeah, it is ideal, because there's a lot of work, isn't it? I've done it before, and the sweat will be pouring off you.
Yeah,
and that is nice and light. But you can see with that, it won't take. See, with the metal rake, when you're raking, it could take a lot of the soil with it as well.
True.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you're taking a lot of soil, you're making dents and holes in the ground. Whereas that one is quite light, and it just takes away what you wanted to take away is the stones and any debris, or the weeds that have died, the kind of the dead thatch and stuff like that. So when you're doing it, you just do it lightly. You don't dig into the ground, basically. And as I'm saying, you're only making holes in it, right? Now, it has to be as level as possible when you're doing it.
Right.
Because if you've got dents in the lawn, what will happen then when it rains?
Well, I suppose the rain will kind of gather and stuff. And
yes,
then
and
are we going to go back to moss again?
Yeah, we'll go back. But it'll all puddle or whatever. So if there is any puddling, you need to draw back your soil and make it as level as possible.
Okay.
So once all that's done then, you're better off to let the ground settle. Because if you could imagine, if you've tilled it and loosened it all up, you've got rid of all the stones, it's quite light.
Now, we've done a lot of work up to this point,
yes.
and we haven't touched seed.
No.
And this is very important, isn't it? Because some people might actually just get a bit too eager.
Yes.
And kind of go out and start sure, look, it's flat.
You're fed up of it at this stage now. And
I've had enough. But as you said, it's the one opportunity to kind of get it right.
Yeah, get it right.
So patience is a big thing. So we've let it settle. We've had the roundup for a week or two. We've pulled up all our stones. We've got it as kind of level as possible with the rake and got the stones out.
Yes, yeah.
So now.
Well, also as well, before we finish that, it's very important where your curbs are as well.
Okay, right. So if you have any bordering.
You don't have gaps in between where the soil ends and the curb. Because if you've got gaps, you'll have weeds coming up. Okay. Small little weeds coming up. So drag your soil right into your curbs. Yeah. Now, I would recommend where the curbs are to firm that down. Because again, what will happen, your curb is level like that. And if your soil has to be a bit higher, And by the time it settles, then it will be the exact level. Because when you're cutting your lawn, then the wheel of your lawnmower can be on your curb and it's all nice and flat. I know there's a lot to think about, which you wouldn't really be when you're putting up your lawn.
But it's the reason why you're kind of going after cutting the lawn. Why is the grass a little bit higher towards the curb?
Exactly.
Because you didn't quite
so you need to do
down.
all that.
Now,
leave the soil settle then for a couple of days if you have the time and if you can do it, and leave it settle for a couple of days, because what will happen then is all the fresh soil will settle down and it'll be nice and firm. Some people give it a light roll at this stage, but I'm talking a very light roll. It's just to kind of compact the soil down so that it's all level, and when you have a kind of lightly roll, you'll see if there's dents or bumps.
And depending on the size of your garden, it could be just a small little kind of plastic roller that you can pull along that you fill with water or sand.
That's exactly water, or if it's very small, go out with your feet.
All right.
And do a little dance.
I was going to say, am I going to roll? Am I going to be rolling around in the muck?
Just your feet.
Lots of kids would love that.
Just your feet, just to firm it down, especially around the curbs. So you're ready. You're nearly ready.
I was going to say, are we grabbing seed now?
No, we're not.
There's one more step.
There's one more step. You add fertilizer.
Okay.
A lot of people forget this one.
Yes, and I was when you said it to me, I was like going, "Wow, I totally forgot that."
Yeah, everybody forgets it, and they'll come in then, because if you don't, the lawn grows, it'll go yellow. And they'll come in then and they'll go, I need a fertilizer for the lawn, it's pure yellow. You can't feed a lawn for 6 months after sowing it. Which is important.
So that's another big
thing. So that is why you put the fertilizer down first. Right. So you could get maybe potassium manure 7-6-17, or you can get 18-6-12, but it's a very, very fine application of fertilizer that you put down. When you put it down, you should walk away and hardly see it. You don't layer it down, because you don't want too much of it then either.
So
you put down your light skimming, put down your fertilizer. Again, you can rake that in lightly if you wanted to, but there's an awful lot of raking and rolling going on.
That's a lot of raking, I'm sure we're putting people off already.
So that's the fertilizer, and that'll keep it going, especially if you sow seed this time of the year. The next time you're going to feed that lawn is next March, April. Right? So at least if you have the fertilizer in, it'll help the root, it'll enrich the root.
So that is helping, exactly. It's helping it bed in, helping it to establish good strong roots and everything.
That's it. And if you go with the 7-6-17, the 17 part of it is for the root development, right? Perfect. The 7 would be your nitrogen, which would be your growth. You're not down for the full growth. So then you grab your seed. I know you've been dying to grab that seed for a good while.
Dying to grab it here. So we've got some premium lawn seed from Gold Crop, and of course we spoke to the rep from Gold Crop,
That's right,
earlier in the season. If anyone wanted to catch that again, we have it up on our YouTube channel. But here we go. It's got a number 2 on the front of it.
Number 2. Now,
this is another important number, because I remember Pather mentioning this before.
Yeah. There's a lot of different types of lawn seed that you can get. You can get the very fine one. You can get the number 2, which is the one you have out the backyard or the front lawn, where the lads will be out kicking the football, and it's good and hardy, but it looks nice as well. So we only really stock for sowing new lawns the number 2.
Number 2, okay. So this is a good all-round lawn.
It's an all-round, it's a general purpose one, and it's hardy, and it's able to take the kids running on it or whatever, and it's able to take traffic walking through it. It's not a very, very fine lawn.
Yeah, okay. And again, it's from Gold Crop, and you get a big bag. How big
you can
is this
get
bag
that's
here?
A 5 kg bag, but with the biggest one we have is a 20 kg bag.
Okay, grand. So, and again, depending on the size of your lawn, come in, have a chatty, ask what the measurements are, and you'll be able to
usually what it is about 35 grams per square metre. So usually what you do when you're measuring your lawn, you see how many square metres in the lawn. We'll be able to work out then how much lawn seed you need for it.
Okay.
Now, like 35 grams per square metre, you're wondering how much is that?
I was going to say, are we going to get the measuring?
A good handful. Okay. A good handful. You know, we don't. Now, when you're spreading lawn seed, you can spread it out with a seeder.
Yes.
Or if you have a small lawn, you can spread it out with your hand. But a seeder is actually brilliant because it's out level.
And it gives it an even thing. Because you're always afraid that there's going to be a clump. You're going to lump it in and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden you're not.
You've got a big heap of grass here in this corner, and you've got nothing there.
The patches, So a seeder is a good investment. Really.
It is excellent. And when you're doing it, what you do is you go up and down and left and right.
Across the same area?
Across the same area.
Okay.
So you're covering it all then. You're not missing out on anything.
Okay, so up and down and then left and right. That's very important.
Yeah,
and again, I'm just thinking that people might just think, sure, one run.
Yeah, you just scatter it like you're feeding the chickens.
Like the chickens, exactly,
and that'd be it. So,
and what happens if you do have chickens? Are they going to go after the seed?
They will.
Oh, God, okay, right. Keep
and
the
that
chickens in the coop.
35 grams will actually allow for the birds taking some as well.
Okay.
Because you will have the birds swooping down, taking the lawn seed. Now, we have the lawn seed set, right, or sown. right, the next thing then
Step away.
is no,
No?
you actually lightly roll it again.
Okay.
And when you lightly roll it, what it does, it presses it down into the soil.
Okay.
It brings on germination that bit quicker,
Yeah.
and it stops the birds from going at it as well.
Okay, so
Because
it
if
makes
it's
it
fresh
harder.
on top of the ground, sure, look, they'll be
Yeah.
coming from everywhere,
course.
zooming down into it. So if you, now I am talking lightly, because if you do it too heavy, what you're doing is compacting the soil too much, and the root then wouldn't be able to go.
It'll be kind of, struggling to get out. Yeah.
So that's your lawn set,
Right.
and then like with weather like this, as I say, with the heat and the wet, it should be up within a week. You should see the green coming up.
Okay.
Now people are wondering the other end, when do I cut it then?
Yeah.
Right, you really want to leave it grow to 3 to 4 inches high before you go anywhere near it with a lawnmower, and at the very highest setting.
Okay.
You do not go down any of the settings at all. The
Yeah.
very
So
highest.
you don't do it like you would normally your previous lawns.
No,
Make
no,
sure
no.
you take good care of
Because
it.
what you want to do is to, like when you do cut it when it's 3 to 4 inches, what that'll do then, it'll strengthen up the root then again.
Well, it kind of stimulates it to regrow, doesn't
Exactly,
it? So
yeah, and
that's
it's
all you're
thickening
doing.
it up.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
thickening
yeah,
it up.
yeah,
It's like
thickening it
cutting the plant. If you cut that there, it'll
Yeah.
produce 2 or 3 shoots. It's
Yeah.
the same as the roots then
Okay,
as well.
excellent.
So that's it then.
That's it.
Wait and look at the lovely green lawn.
That's it. So let's talk, while we're still on lawns, about people who may have patches.
Yes.
Now, they could be for numerous different reasons. Maybe they've done little extensions, they've maybe done little bits and pieces, maybe they've had a shed that was there, it's moved, or a greenhouse that was moved and there's a patch. So there are other options then in regards to that. We won't be going for the big bag of gold crop there.
No, not at all. We've numerous boxes, we've boxes that size that will cover 20 square metres. There are a few smaller ones there that will cover 10 square metres. It's always really around the goalpost, around the clothesline, where we're all going.
The most traffic.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, the most
so
traffic.
your lawn is already there, but it's just wore in places. So what you need to do then is get your metal rake.
Okay.
And that'll loosen it up. So
so when you're working on a lawn already been used.
Yes, exactly. The lawn is going to be very compact and hard. So what you need to do is loosen up the soil so that the seed will actually be able to get root into it. Again, loosen up the soil, have it level, put down your bit of fertilizer, put down your lawn seed, and that's it.
And you picked up one that was great as well,
yes,
too, because there's one, I didn't see this one before. This is for shady and dry. So this is even if you have a high walls, if you have trees,
anything like that. Yeah.
Places that have a little bit of shade. So there's a specific type of seed.
There is, and be very, when you do come in, it doesn't matter whether it's a plant or tree or a lawn, make sure to explain your circumstance as well, because if you just come in looking for lawn seed, I would give you this first off. But if you're going home then and putting it under a tree, that's the one I should be giving you.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's great that it's there, or dry areas as well. A lot of people have these areas and the grass just never seems to grow. Like there's an aqua gel in that, which coats the seed.
And gives it, so that gives it the extra little bit of moisture it might need.
Exactly, and that's why it's good then at that. So that's excellent.
Well, that's fantastic. So hopefully there's going to be lots of plenty of green lawns. But I guess the most important thing we want to get across again is it's your one shot.
Yes.
Get it right. Do the steps.
Preparation.
And you will have for years to come the most beautiful lawn out front, and as you said, it's the green lawn that will really make the difference to your house.
It really make the difference to your house. It will indeed. Yeah.
Trish, thanks so much for all your tips and assistance here today, as always. Thanks to all of you for listening and also for watching on Facebook and YouTube. That is it from Boyles of Killorglin for today. Hopefully we'll talk to you again next week, and until then, happy gardening.